Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. I have big honor to welcome on behalf of the authorities of the University of Economics in Katowice, all of you at the second day of the first edition of international project Economics Without Borders. Today, we dedicate this debate and this discussion to the innovative research in the field of consumer behavior and marketing, but from the perspective of Europe. Yesterday, we discussed a similar topic, but about the new technology and innovative research concerning the new technology, how this influences on the economy from the perspective of Africa. So I would like to welcome very warmly our special guest and in fact our speakers for today. So first of all, I would like to welcome Professor Maria Vilaplana Aparicio from University of Alicante in Spain. Welcome. I would like to welcome also very warmly Professor Thomas Heinrich Musholik from University of Art Berlin in Germany. And I would like to welcome Professor Paweł Chlipała from Krakow University of Economics in Poland, so our neighbor university. So welcome very warmly. Today also will join us in a few minutes also the speakers who will give the speech tomorrow. Professor John Ball from St. John's University in New York, and she's also the founder of the WOMB Service Design Laboratory. And also will join us Mohan Ram. He's the head of the global field of marketing at Digital Ocean in USA. And of course, I would like to warmly welcome our professors, our students, PhD candidates, and administration staff from our university, but also from the other universities and also from the business. Dear all, the main aim of the project is to promote the science on international scale by organizing at the University of Economics in Katowice debates and presentation of the scientific achievements, research and work of outstanding scientists from around the world. The project itself, main activities include the 3 editions of this project. Each edition includes special debates, which will take place in a few minutes. Also, the afternoon, there is a special meeting with the PhD candidates, with the professors, with our speakers, which they inspire about the new research, new areas of the research, and maybe new methods of the research they can include in their PhD thesis. And finally, the 3rd day, which I would like to really invite you to this day, which are the special motivation speeches popularizing science among the young people and the local community. So it's some kind of version of the TEDx at the University of Economics in Katowice, and everything is supported by the Global Village, which the main goal is to promote the culture. In that case, in this edition, from the Africa and from the Europe. So the whole event was designed to present economics and social culture issue, including aspect of social responsibility, sustainable development, economy of inclusion, which is so right now very promoted by the European Commissions, from the perspective of the 6 continents, 2 for each edition. So this week we have Africa and Europe. The next month, in November, we will have North America and Asia. And finally, the next year, in 2023, in March, we will have Australia and South America. Invited speakers are prominent specialists and experts from the countries such as Egypt, Spain, Germany, Portugal, US, India, Azerbaijan, Australia, Chile, and of course from Poland, from our universities. They have been recognized for the exceptional achievement in the field of economic science. In particular, they work in implementing innovative scientific teaching and business solutions. Economics Without Border, I believe, will be one of the large-scale initiative during University of Economics in Katowice, will become the Polish hub for the economy. It will be place to be where the high-class researchers from around the world will share their knowledge, discuss, and exchange the idea and experience. And I really, really hope that this project will help us to identify new opportunities and hidden potential, as well force us to dialogue and engage in a wide range of the stakeholders while increasing the efficiency of ongoing activities in the area of economic research and teaching. So generally, right now I could say that officially the 2nd day of the international project, Economic Without Border, dedicated to Europe, is officially open. So we can start. Well, actually, I should add that the project was received fundings from the Ministry of Education and Science under the program of social responsibility of science. Also, I would like to say that this project actually was accepted by many stakeholders and the institutions that we cooperate with, and we were given the honorary patronage of the Minister of Education and Science, also the CIMAN organization, which is an international accreditation organization, which already gave it to us, to our international business program, international accreditation, but also was accepted by the local authorities. So the mayor of the Katowice, also the head of the Salesian Metropole, also the head of the voivodeship, and also the marshal of the the Silesia. Also, we get the patronage from the NAWA, which is the Polish institutions dedicated to the internationalization of the universities. Also, we get the honorary patronage of the institutions like the Conference of the Polish Public Universities, rectors of the public Polish universities, also the Conference of the rectors of the University of Economics. As you know, we have the 5 big economics universities in Poland, which are in Krakow, where is our guest, also from Katowice, Wrocław, Poznań, and Warsaw. Also, we get the honorary patronage of the Polish Association of the Economists, perspective from as well as the rector of our university. And of course, nowadays we can do nothing without the media, so also we get the honored patronage of the Polish television, the local television in Katowice, Dziennik Zachodni, which is our local newspaper, Polish Radio Katowice, and also Forum and Nasze Miasto. So as I mentioned before, this edition today is dedicated to Europe. So first, I would like to invite you to watch the short movie, just giving you the insight to the economical and cultural issue related to the European Union.
Hi, my name is Hela. I'm from University of Economics in Katowice, and I think that economics has no borders. There are 7 continents in the world. In this series, I'm going to fill you in on details about their economics and social-cultural issues. Let me guide you across the European Union today. The EU is an economic and political association located entirely in the Northern Hemisphere and parts of the Eastern Hemisphere. It's located on the world's 3rd most populous continent and consists of 27 countries that cover about 4.2 million square kilometers. Around 6% of the world's population lives here. The tallest mountain in the European Union is Mont Blanc, located in France, Switzerland and Italy, with a height of 4,810 meters. Lake Vänern, Sweden, is the biggest lake on this continent, while the Danube is the longest river. The European Union's gross domestic product is 17.09 trillion US dollars, and it's ranked as the 3rd largest GDP among continents on Earth. Europeans deal with 2.6% inflation. An unemployment rate is similar to Africa and amounts to 7%. Statistically, an European Union resident pays $1.8 per liter of fuel, while they monthly earn 1,853 euros. Every European Union citizen has access to electricity. CO2 emissions in the European Union amount to 6.1 metric tons per capita. Did you know that the Anthem of the European Union is Ode to Joy from the Ninth Symphony by the famous German composer and the pianist Ludwig van Beethoven, who composed it in 1823? The European Union's motto is United in Diversity. The capital of the European Union is Brussels, Belgium. The EU uses 23 official languages. European Parliament debates are translated into all of them. The European Union regulates the common economic, social and security policies of its member states. Membership is open to a country with a democratic government, a decent human rights record, and a sound economic policies. Most visited landmarks in European Union are Eiffel Tower in France, Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany, Alhambra in Spain, Acropolis in Greece, and Foro Romano in Italy. That's all for now. If you want to know more about our world, check out our YouTube channel. And if you want to learn more about economics, study at the University of Economics in Katowice, Poland.
As you can see that the data, especially concerning the inflations and so on, it was collected at the end of the previous year, so before the crisis and before all the changes we observed, especially on the European continent. So as we can see, the economy is so inspiring area of the research, because the situation is changing so quickly, and always there is a space for the new research, for the new ideas, and how we, as we means consumer and also the companies, we adopt to the situation, and how we can create the future of our continent, of our economy. So, dear all, I would like to invite as speakers for the debates of today three fantastic professors from different universities in Europe. So first I would like to invite Maria Vilaplana Aparicio. So Maria earned his PhD from university. Yes, please, and please join us at the desk. Her PhD at the University of Alicante in Spain. She has recently been selected by the La Spawn entity affiliated with the Harvard University to benefit from the Santander Scholarship and attend the Innovation in Teaching program. At the present, she works in the Department of Communication and Social Psychology at the University of Alicante. She's also active member of the research group in audiovisual communication in Spain. For nearly 15 years, she was working as a consultancy specialist in management of the subsidies, especially in an area of the research, development, and innovation, combining with the position at the University of Alicante. Likewise, she was given more than 50 lectures on public aid in the Valencia region and the rest of Spain. And she also was the secretary of the association El Círculo de Directivos de Alicante. Well, I need to improve my Spanish, yeah, which brings together business and managers in the province. Her research concentrate with the three main key areas. The first one, communication and transparency of the public aid. The second one, audiovisualization narrative applied to advertising, focus on the aspect of such a use of humor in advertisement, and finally, the teaching in innovation. I would like to also invite the second speaker, Professor Thomas Heinrich Musholik. Professor Thomas studied international business and international management at the University of Breda in Netherlands and also in Berlin, Germany. Now he works at the University of Art Berlin. As well, he is the chair professor of the Voxen University in India, as well visiting professor at I University in Tokyo in Japan. Professor Thomas Musholik is editor-in-chief of the Journal of the Future Robots Life. He teaches digital brand management, digital experience, multisensory experience, and online communication at the Germany, Swiss, Austria, South America, and the Polish universities. He's also expert of the European Commissions and reviewer of the scientific publishing and journals, and the author of the several books and articles in the journal specializing in marketing and communication. Professor Musholik is also scientific ambassador of the Brain City Berlin. Since 2011, has been investigating the functions of the brain and the influence on the digital media. The goal of his work is to understand the customer needs and to map these findings in the dynamic model and to integrate them into the digital space and fully automate interface. Now I would like to invite Professor Paweł Chlipała. He's associate professor and he works at the Faculty of Marketing and at the Krakow University of Economics. He's the author of numerous significant publications. He has experience both in business practice and the research work. He's interested in marketing as a sphere of the scientific cognitions, including methodology of the marketing research, integration of the methodological paths, and interpretive approach in research. His main subject of interest is concerned on contemporary marketing, the way they are extracted, analyzed, and evaluated. The speciality of from the science point of view and didactic point of view is engaging in the customer behavior, especially evolution of the behaviors and the determining the shaping in it. So, and the last speaker, it's me, because as you know, I am also the professor of the consumer behavior and marketing at our university. And this is actually all the three guests are a friend of mine because we cooperate in the framework of different projects. We do the joint research. And hopefully we will soon have also the joint publications. So I hope that this, and today we are going to share our knowledge concerning the consumer behavior and the marketing. So in fact, we are talking about the two sides of the same coin. All right, so we can start debate. So there will be no presentation today. We just want to talk about different, very important problems, the challenges that we can see in front of us when we are talking about the consumer consumption and the marketing activities which could influence and modify our behaviors. So the first session today is dedicated to innovative research on consumer behavior and marketing. So I would like to first start with the questions concerning what kind of innovative research you are doing at your universities, and also, well, in comparisons to this, what is done also by your colleagues at the university. So then we can see what in different parts of the Europe, what kind of innovative research in the field of marketing and consumer behavior is done, in which area you are involved. And then also, I think that we start the discussion with you, what you can see, what is from the global perspective, what is also very interesting. So who wants to be first? Maybe, yeah.
So maybe I will start because
okay,
I'm the last one. So first of all, thank you to being here and to inviting me, because I was born not so far from here, and I leave Poland when I was 6. So, and it's amazing to be 12 years here later. So, and attend the conference and then to talk with you on this topic. So. It's a nice question, because when you look at me, so I try to investigating the brain since 2011 to understand how we make decisions, how we perceive informations through our senses, what is the conscious to unconscious, and things like that. And my thesis and my research, I developed a model, unconscious model to understand and then to measure experience and digital media, and to get it validated in an unconscious way. So I think at least it is a ground research until today, but it is also innovated at the same time. And other things we do, we will come later to these points. We try to adapt technologies, multisensory technologies, but also these findings we get until now about emotions, affects, the unconscious, we try to adapt it now in the robotic fields. So it's amazing what we can do, especially in the service robotics, things like that. Also related to AI, how we can mix the findings we get with the AI and programmate neural networks, which will help us to get better data and then to understand the people and predict their behavior. So yeah, I think it's a nice future.
All right, thank you very much. And well, actually, when we are talking about the brain, and well, actually, there will be the combination of all the methods of the medical, from the medical field, and how to implement into the economy, to the marketing, which is also a lot of ethical problem and issues. So this is really, really big space. Of course, we will talk about this later. Okay, Maria. So what is your field of study and the research?
So I come from the University of Alicante, and we are a quite big university, so we have many research in our university. For example, only the Department of Communication, we are 80 teachers. So in my case, I have been working in the communication of innovation that companies has to do when they receive public funds. You know that the European Union has a lot of programs, and we have to do dissemination and to have some actions. And I study if the companies are doing that actions, and they are not doing. At least no, they are not doing the diffusion that the European Union asks. And moreover, I have been working too with the part of the communication and how we use storytelling and humor in advertisement. That it's a topic that I love, because I don't know in your case, but I think all the people is avoiding advertisement because sometimes it's horrible. And companies has to find other ways to connect with the customers, with the target. And we are trying to guess what kind of advertisement is working well and what companies has to do. I come from the business part, so I'm trying to do all the time research that it's really applied, not models or things like that.
All right, thank you. And Pavel?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to be here and have possibility to discuss this problem with great professors. And I think that those topics of our discussion are really interesting. And at the beginning, I would like to start with some statements that can explain my today's point of view. I represent marketing and consumer behavior studies. And I would say that marketing and consumer behavior, there are sciences. I treat them as sciences, although we know that they don't have own research methods. We borrow them from other disciplines. But there is not only our problem, there is problem of other sciences, sociology, psychology, and so on. And the dominant paradigm on which the studies at my university are conducted is positivism. And I'm sure that it is a dominant paradigm not only at Krakow University of Economics. The same situation is here at University of Economics in Katowice. And in my opinion, there is a special situation for universities in Poland, in Europe, in the United States. I'm interested in methodological integration in studies. And I'm also interested in qualitative research studies, anthropological studies. I would like to say that it is not the mainstream of the research area. I wrote a book entitled Integration of Methodological Approaches in Marketing Research, and some articles about triangulation, something which we call mixed method design. And in my opinion, it is interesting field of the methodological and empirical studies because it is quite new. We have in social sciences 20, maybe 30 years of tradition of doing it. And I think that in our area, I will develop it later, we don't do a lot of mixed studies.
All right, thank you very much. Well, actually, I also would like to share what the topic of the research we do in our department, because today also I have the colleagues here which are representing the consumption research department, and actually we are finishing the very interesting research concerning consumer exclusions. Well, actually, the next step will be how to include the customer back to the market, and so we investigate these exclusions of the customers on different markets, both on the even on the food market, which is really necessary for everyone, but also we were talking about the we do the research about the exclusion of the customers on the services market, and we took also in consideration the situation of the market, because when we are talking about the digital economy and the possibilities of the customers to use the internet and to buy the products through the internet, but also there is also a big problem for some of the customers, and some first research showings that the mostly customers are excluded who are usually, unfortunately, less educated. Customers with a low income, customers which are usually elderly customers, especially when we are talking about the digital market, those who live in the rural area, but also the women who are, as a single, take care for the baby, so they have a problem to be a full member of the market, of the society. But also what we discover in our research, which was very unusual for us. Actually, we didn't expect this, that the exclusions, excluded customer, also they are the customers who already family or friends are also excluded. So somehow we created this, like the social groups, which are also attracting the people who later also be excluded. So actually we have to fight with such exclusions by increasing the level of education of the customers to spread. And I'm not talking only about the higher education or the education in the school, but the market education. So this is very, very important aspect. The second field of our interest is the sustainable consumption. We know all these directives of the European United Nations and how the whole world, how the whole economy should be sustainable. So we focus on the side with the consumption. And here, as you said, there's a lot of problem with how to measure. Also because all the objective indicators which we have in all the statistics data in Poland, in Europe, or generally on the United Nations level, well, actually they are not really showing the structure of the consumption, and basing on this, we have difficulties to judge if this consumption is really sustainable. So that's why at our university we applied the subjective approach to investigate the sustainable consumption, when we mostly analyze and try to investigate customer attitudes toward different goods and the consumption of those goods. Of course, on the other side, we identified the huge gap between the attitudes and the real behaviors. Almost every single type of the products, including saving electricity, selecting the garbage and so on. So there is a really, really huge gap. We declare our attitudes to sustainable consumption is really on the high level, but the behaviors are totally different. And finally, the third group, the area of our interest is with the market education and customer protection standards. So we, as in Europe, because we have to take in consideration the European perspective, we are in fact lucky because the European Commission is really forcing the governments to introduce the consumer policy, very detailed consumer policy, and how to educate customers. So for one side, we should, well, right now they are promoting the ombudsman model, which should support the customers. Not like, for example, in US when there's the more court model, so the customer need to fight by themselves. Of course, we have a special court dedicated to the, we call it the law requirements of the customers. However, we can feel more secure. However, it will work only if the customer has such a knowledge. And our idea, our goal is just to promote the consumer rights among the young generation like you students, and then you will be like ambassador of this idea that the customer, of course, is the weaker elements of the market. However, there is a big weapon using the consumer law, and you can use this law efficiency to fight your rights on the market. So these are our areas of the research. Maybe we can ask some colleagues or you, because we have also the professors here, what is the research at your university, or you can see some trends of the research in the field of consumer behavior and marketing on the global scale. Do you have any doubts? Yeah. Okay, so may I ask the John Ball from St. John's University? Yeah.
Thank you. I just, first of all, it's really interesting to hear the European perspective and how many parallels there are between some of the research that's happening in US universities, particularly interest in the brain, advertising communications for sure, and the mixed methodology is also becoming something that is increasingly of interest, but to your point, also very much new. And then for my research, action research is something that I'm involved in, which is also something that is qualitative and quite unique, and as a result, sometimes difficult to publish some of these kind of unique methodologies that people are using. And in action research, because the framework for action research is to understand problems by solving them with people in context, it also tends to take a long time. So this research happens over 3, 4, 5, and sometimes, in some cases, with the work I'm doing, 10 years of looking at longitudinal experiences. So it's exciting to see how many different ways we're asking the similar questions about consumer behavior and marketing and moving toward new knowledge.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? So if we don't have the questions, actually I would like to propose to go to the next topic. Well, actually we already discuss about the methodology of the research, but this is very important issue for especially for the consumer behavior and the marketing. And actually I have a few questions to our panelists and also to you concerning the future of the research, because what do you think? What will be the research area of what research in the area of the consumer behavior and marketing will dominate in the future? Generally, we always observe there is some kind of fight between qualitative and quantitative research. So what is, in your opinion, will be more in the future more popular, the qualitative or quantitative research? Let's go through the whole panel.
Do you start or me? I start.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Ladies first.
thank you. I think it depends if you are watching it from the point of view of the university or the business point. Because if you are watching it from the point of view of the university, of course, quantitative. Because if not, it's impossible to publish a paper, and sometimes it's really difficult. But if you watch it from the point of view of the business, they use more qualitative techniques, methodology, because they want to know details, no, about the behavior of the consumers. So it depends. In fact, I think that we need both. We need like the quantitative to give us like the general view, and the qualitative to understand very well what is going on and what our consumer thinks and feel.
Okay, thank you very much, Thomas.
Yeah, thanks. It was also a part of my PhD thesis and my studies, so I tried to understand which instruments do we already have, so also qualitative, quantitative. Also the explicit and the implicit, so conscious, unconscious. And at least the findings, when we look at the findings, so, and it comes maybe to the true, if it exists. We can't use at least quantitative methods and get validated data, because everything we experience, so scientists tell between 99 or until 99.6% we perceive unconscious. So when you say let's use quantitative methods, your decision can be yes or not. It can't be the truth, it can't be validated at least. So we have to, or I try to find instruments and combining instruments, also using EEG, eye scanner, make completely new creations and compositions to get the measurement and the quality of emotion and affects. I was also looking at the ERR tests, some models and some theories from the psychotherapy. So, and at least it can't be validated. So that's why I started developing a completely new model, which I integrated, which I can use to get the unconscious experience you get at this moment. So I think that will be the future, it will be a mix. Otherwise, we need also the quantitative at least, because we need the numbers and an answer. So it's important to have a static behind. But first of all, it will be implicit
All right, so as we can see that they are there, like we cannot resign from any kind of the research because all of them, they have a special impact and delivering us the necessary information to get the full pictures of the consumer, their behaviors, how they react on the marketing activities. So I think that this step by step, we are going to really to integrate of methodology of the research. So, which is the expert is Paweł. So, could you tell us more about your findings? You are the expert in Poland in this approach. So, could you describe more about this concept?
I would agree with Professor Maria that it depends on if we conduct studies on the university or in business area. And I think that people in business area are more interested in developing qualitative studies. But I remember when I was writing my PhD thesis, I used them qualitative approach, and I was presenting the data, and there was some question, are there any numbers, where is the statistical analysis, and so on. So it was a little misunderstanding of this attitude. 3 years ago, I did meta-analysis how often methodological integration is used in marketing field and consumer behavior field in Poland. And I found out that positivist approach was dominant. More than 90% of all articles use that methodological approach. Only about 5% of studies, there was quantitative studies, qualitative studies, and about 5% there was integrated methodology. So I think that we will have trend of increase of interest of qualitative methods, but this quantitative attitude, this positivistic way of thinking will be still dominant. Why we have dominance of positivist approach? I found out 3 problems. The first one is tradition. Majority researchers was educated in this methodology, and they treat it as the most important methodology. The second problem, I called it scientific status of the discipline. So positivism and neo-positivism tended to create real science, to become like the natural sciences. And as I said, many researcher would like to study in this way. And the last thing, there are troubles with integrating different methodological paths. So it is time, we need time, it is time consuming, it costs more, the researcher should have skills to do different studies, and it is difficult to do it, to realize it in practice.
All right, thank you very much. And so generally we will, in the future, definitely the integrate approach to do the research will be like the mainstream. In fact, actually, also I can experience, because right now, well, the next months we will be the witness of the another PhD defense of my PhD candidate, and the first three PhD, they were mostly only focusing on the quantitative research, but the them, they are only integrate concept. We start with the qualitative research because actually the area of the research was totally unknown, so we had to ask the expert. Then we did the quantitative, and again we back to the qualitative, because to explain all this phenomenon we were able to identify during this, the quantitative research was only able to do it during qualitative research. And we can use a different one. For example, one of my PhD candidates, she was supported by the ethnography. So we adopt the ethnographic methodology into the, using the new technology and it was really, really fantastic research. And of course, when we are talking about the new technology, so what is your opinion, in fact, about how the new technology will be used in consumer behavior and marketing research? So, and what kind of new technology we are able to apply to this research? And it's not only that we can apply, but then we need to have skills to analyze the results of the research, and you should be prepared for it. Yes, so Thomas?
Yeah, sure, thank you. And so it's a point of view. So what you will get for data and an answer. So of course, until now we have wonderful instruments, and also working with a partner in Germany, we are able today, we are able to understand the human behavior and at least predict very well what will happen and which decision she will does. So yeah, we've done a mix of a combination of methods, like the sinus milieus, yeah, big fives. Then we try to understand how the human brain works, the neural network, and try to build an AI who works like that, but combining all these models together. So it's also mathematic, and it works very well. So if you are interested, I have no findings here, but I can share it with you. So just ask, please, Professor Dr. Smczek, and I think he will share it with you. But so we have great possibilities until now. It's also now we will come to the point, ethical points, and then data projection, and then so we have wonderful possibilities to understand even more and more using the technology, using the findings in psychology, medicine, sociology, and an end. But yeah, at least it's a question where the way will go. Yeah, are the things we already know? You know, I think when it comes at least to the points, so we have to say, okay, in the security area and things like that, areas like that, I will adopt them. It's okay. But do we want to see things like that in the economic area? It's a big question. We have to answer by us.
Thank you very much, Maria.
So I think Thomas explained very well. The artificial intelligence, I think, is going to have a very important paper in the future. And I think we have to speak as well about metaverse, because of course we know that neuroscience is going to grow very fast, and that allow us to understand very well how is the behavior of the target. But we have now some technologies or some issues that are growing too. And for example, I asked myself, what is going to happen with metaverse? And here we can see, because we are getting old, I'm sorry. And for us, it's not a real technology, but I wonder if, for example, this is a technology that we have to analyze better, because of course that we know that neuroscience and all the artificial intelligence, and for example, I collaborate with business that are trying to automatize all the all the contents and everything. So the people only has to check if it's correct, even the descriptions of the product. So technology is going faster. So maybe at the end, I would like to ask you two things. First, what do you think about the experiments in stores, no? In store experiments, that it's as well a good option to get information, and about metaverse.
Okay, thank you.
Just a second, may I say something very important? So I don't know, you remember, so Google starts, I think 10 years ago, 11 years ago, a project where you get the possibility to upload yourself online by sharing your DNA with them, and then for a fee, I think $90, $80, things like that. So it's already start, and then we have a lot of people who share the data, the DNA with Google just to upload them, just to be, maybe after that, stay alive and then having a second life. So that's the thing connected to the metaverse, and then so it's amazing what happened at least. I'm sorry for that.
Thank you, Pavel.
I hope that artificial intelligence in the future will work for us and will collect data. And it would be wonderful if artificial intelligence would collect survey data because it is difficult to find people who would like to fill questionnaires to do it. So it would be helpful. You mentioned about ethnography, and there is area which are interested in also. I'm interested in ethnographic anthropological studies. I did some projects in the past, and now we have a new chance to move from I would say classical field of study to the new internet, and it is difficult to say that in ethnography there is internet ethnography. There is something other, because we have a different way of communication. We have different respondents, and it is difficult to move way of collecting data from the field studies to the internet. And I think that it will be a developing area of studies because the pandemic time changed situation. Before pandemic, we did more classical studies. We use field studies. And after that, during pandemic, we were forced to change our attitudes. And communication tools was developed, and now it is better for us to stay in the internet because it is cheaper, faster. We have wide range of possibilities of studies.
All right, thank you very much. Now I would like to ask the audience if you have any comments concerning like new technology. Yes, please. Behind you.
Yes, thank you. Sylwia Słupik, University of Economics in Katowice. Thank you very much for your comment, Mr. Professor, but I disagree that only the pandemic forced us to view in the artificial intelligence more and more, because I also did some research on the international level, the EcoBot. When we discovered the automatic and the chatbot who will help the energy consumer behavior, And we also find out that the consumer, the energy consumer, wants to use actually some artificial intelligence to help them to management in energy field, even before the pandemic. So this is the start that we should also think about to combining these methods. I also agree that the qualitative methods we should develop more and more. But this is also one problem with it, because how we combine and compare these results. So we can use some experiments, for example, but the triangulation of the methods will be the answer of this question. Because from the one side we have to do this quantitative, that we can compare, that we can the findings can be also in the way of not only the positive way but also the normative way. So we have to change the behavior. We have to show in which direction the consumer should go, especially when we discuss the European Union, the path to the sustainable development, especially in the energy field. So I agree with your voice, and I see that the beginning, maybe not it's the beginning, but I think that it's quite, maybe we are in the medium path to combining the artificial intelligence with the today life, everyday life of the consumers, especially in the energy field. So thank you very much.
Very much for very important voice. There is any other comments or question? Yes, please. We have over here, over there. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So you've been talking about positivity and neo-positivity in economics, and could you talk more about it?
What would you like to hear?
Could you explain it more, because it's pretty new?
The studies could be conducted, could be based on two paradigms. And one paradigm, it is a positivistic paradigm. And we could say that quantitative studies could be related, could be based on this paradigm. And there is the second methodological path, which is based on interpretivist paradigm. And it could be connected to the qualitative studies. In marketing area, in consumer behavior area, we use those two attitudes, those two studies paths, methodological paths are used the most often. And as I said, the positivistic paradigm is dominant. There are different assumptions or two both paradigms, ontological, axiological, and methodological assumptions. If we would like to base on a positivist paradigm, we treat research society as a all part. We try to have representative studies. We answer the question how much, for example, how many consumers are interested in the product, how much they would like to pay for the offer, and so on. If we use the interpretivist paradigm, our knowledge is contextual. So it is important to answer the question why. We try to understand what are the motives of behavior. We try to understand why consumer is love the brand or hate the brand, and so on. There is this knowledge is, as I said, contextual. It is a subjective knowledge, but there is deep knowledge.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Maybe the question, yeah, please, Professor.
Mohammed Rushdie from Egypt. For metaverse, they are using virtual and augmented reality. Okay, do you think it's useful and has the benefits or harmful for us, metaverse, especially for kids and boys? Yeah. And why?
Thank you for your question.
And why?
May I? Thank you. So, you know, many years ago, we start working in the field of virtual reality, mixed reality, and use cases, and start thinking about thoughts like you have and questions like you have. When? Why? Is it possible? Should we? And then we decide, okay, look, if we have some dangerous situations, it's perfectly to use virtual reality to let them experience, maybe the workers, what will happen in an end. So they are trained until maybe it will happen in the reality, but they already experience it. So it will be an automatism. They don't have to think about it. So situations like that, amazing. Metaverse, of course, children, sure, why not? Let them enjoy the history, experience the history. When we look at the brain, even more senses are connected, so you will experience it, you will learn from it. It's amazing, you know? It's a pleasure for our brain to get this. But of course, we have to build the right framework. Yeah? Don't misunderstood the data. Don't use the data in the wrong way, at least when it comes to our children, the next generation. And so we have to use it useful. For a good, not for a bad. And I think when we're talking about metaverse, so it's amazing what we can do with it, but we have to, at the same time, we have to build frameworks for governments, for companies, and to secure this playground. It's so important.
Yeah, thank you, but I think metaverse without any control, that's the problem. Yeah, it must be controlled for children because it's dangerous for our children. The augmented reality is very dangerous for, yeah, I know the benefits of virtual reality and augmented reality, yeah, but must be under control for children. That's, I mean that.
It is, but at least look at this. Yeah, it's just an iPhone. But when we talking about under control, having under control, it's depending from you, you know. I can teach you having it under control, but at least how often you spend it, what you do. It's just by you. So the thing is not we have to have it under control, just teaching you how to use it, what will be possible, where we have to be afraid of it. Or. So I think the education is also a main part.
Education more than laws. Because if you have regulations but you don't have education, and I think all technology is very dangerous for children, even the phones, that I think are really. So the question is, if metaverse is a reality, so we can do a very small test, and for example, how many of you think that metaverse have a future? So, how many of you? So this is the reality. So we have to think about what kind of data are we taking from them, and of course we are watching some actions that can help us. For example, the cookie regulation is going to change. And I think that is going to change as well the way that we take data from the behavior of customers. Because now we have many companies that sell that data and allow us to create like our perfect customers. And sometimes, I don't know you, but I'm a little bit worried because I think that Facebook or Google know more about me than me. So it's true. Because they study what do you pay with your car, where are you going, and many things. So I think metaverse is a reality, as the same as the phones. So we need a lot of education, first of all, and to analyze what we want for that kind of platforms.
I also have the questions concerning, because if you propose that somebody needs to control, so it means who need to control? Because then this person or institutions who control, they have extremely big power on us, on our behaviors, and can modify our behaviors as well, or stimulate the behaviors. We know, we have some rumors concerning the influence on the elections in US and so on by big data and so on. So this is the question, who need to control? And I think that we should avoid it. Because actually if the first layer should be the parents, right, in comparisons to the children. But if the parents are not prepared and they don't know, they are not prepared to use it and they don't know what is behind this, so the children, even they are much more educated than the parents. So who in that case will be the control institutions in that case? So of course I know that we will not solve this problem today, but we are here just to put the questions on the table and well then further investigate this. Well,
we already started discussion like that, and I think one of the most common ideas is to integrate a new form of digital commission, which should be globally integrated at the UN. So we have things like that, and yeah, you know, we're discussing, and so it's a long way, but we have to. We have to, and then we have to spend the time for it and put the energy in, because it will be important. But at the same time, we have to start teaching, educating. And as you say, also the parents. First the parents, you know. You grow up, when we look at the brain, sorry, but when we look at the brain, so you grow up, the first 7 years are the most important years for each of us. Because we are open to connect everything. It's amazing what happens in the brain. So you get everything. All of informations, and after that it's going slower and slower. So the main part is already building, and it's hard after it to change, to giving new informations. It is possible, but it's going harder and harder.
If you allow me, I want to do another small test. How many of you do you think that technologies has real risk? Real. So the question is, what are we doing for that? Because we know that they have some risks, but we prefer enjoy, we prefer have our time there. So I think from the behavior point of view, you have a lot of work to do because it's the future. So.
Well, actually, there was my next questions concerning, well, maybe not the treats, but actually I would like to ask about what are the limitations of applying, I don't know, internet and new technology into the consumer behavior research and marketing research. But immediately, the second question is appearing, what are the threats of applying this new technology into the research of consumer behavior and the marketing? So can we discuss this problem? What are the threats, in fact, or limitations? Because when we apply even the quantitative research, the internet, and we do the research only via internet, what kind of limitations we have, and how we can fight with this limitation?
I could base on one study did some years ago, and it was a kind of methodological task. I did deep interviews with customers, and it was done twice. The first, there was a direct interview, and the second time it was a deep interview using communicator, internet communicator. And after that, I evaluate it, how it was for me, good or not, which kind of interview was better. And also participants evaluated this form. And I found out that there was young people like you, and many people were interested in direct contact because this human side was very, very important for them. And I think that there is the main traits that this kind of research using artificial intelligence are artificial. So people are going to have direct contact.
But also from the other side, when we have a direct interview and the interviewer, he or she must be really well prepared, because otherwise they can also influence on the respondents, on their answers. So when we have this online interview, the definitely benefits is that they can really respond independently. But of course, from the other side, if you have very well-trained interviewer, they can also help the respondent. Not only they change the opinion of the customer, the respondent, but also can help it. So everything depends on how prepared you have this interviewer. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why we try to use deep interviews from psychology. You know. Not to get the quantitative data, just the unconscious. So we try to understand what's behind. So we will get an interview and then you will talk about the topic. But we were collecting this data and then understand the bottom line and then analyze this. And I think when it comes at least to this point, it should be more validated than quantitative interview. It's like we talked at the first topic today. So the unconscious is very important. And of course, when I can predict and can understand the consumers using also AI and an end, so at least it's validated. So I think for us as scientists, it will be to let AI in. Yeah, in our field, using AI with our mindset now. So we have to change the mindset, understand AI, how to mix it, how to use it. So it will be a long way. But at the economy, other sides, we already use it, like I say. You can use it, we have the data there. So if you want something, we did a study 2 months ago about the scientificity. So we try to understand how the customer think, what is related when you look at the brain. So just like a neural network, what is related to the green parties, to sign stability and things like that. And we get as a result, so we don't look for it, but we get one of the results that Adidas as their brand, when it comes at least to the green, yeah. So for a green future and climate change. So Adidas stands for a change. So things like that, amazing findings we got and we find. So we have the possibilities. The thing is, what would you want to find? So what we should understand or what we have to understand.
Okay, thank you, Maria.
I cannot add anything else because he explained very well. I think that technology is a fantastic tool for research and even for business. And we need more education about how to use it, at least from the university, because I don't know in other universities, but for example, in our case, we work, our research groups work very alone. So we need more education about how to share data from other disciplines like psychology, sociology, and I think that's really important for universities and for business too, because now we have to talk about cooperation between different kinds of business and between the public and the private sector. And we have a fantastic tool, and we have to understand what can we do with that tool. And from another point of, I have 2 children, and so from another point of view, I think we have to study very well what is going to happen with teenagers and with technology, because I don't know if it happens here, but from COVID, I believe, or I have the feeling that people stay more at home, they are connected, but we are losing like our personal part that I don't know here in Poland, but in Spain it's really, really important. So this is one of the bad parts of the technology. For research is fantastic, for business is fantastic, but what happens for people?
Right. Thank you. Thomas, you want to?
Yeah, just to say, because of the kids, I have also to experience the same, but at least it's a wonderful tool. So yeah, to share thoughts, get in touch with each other, especially so in the last 2 years in the crisis. So, and also the gamification factor behind a phone like that. What else? So you will get open-minded, creative, and an answer. So I would say, in the one way, it supports your education, your creativity, and your personality grow. But at least we come to the question, okay, where's the point, okay? Because it's changed, it's break, you have a peak, and then it's going unhealthy. And yeah, I think this is one of the most important things, and we have to look at it also. Not also at home and at our children's advice, also at science. Yeah, it's really important for the future.
All right, so naturally with the discussion is approaching to the question, what will be the future type of the researchers in consumer behavior and marketing? Because of such a big role of the new technology in the research, it will be replaced by the computer scientists, or still there will be the space for the psychologists, sociologists, economists, or it will be really, we need the IT expert in this area. So what will be the future researcher? What the kind of the characteristics? Is there space for us, or we should totally go to the IT department?
Yeah. I think it was the same like when we started the development of the technology, no, in the factories, and we were afraid that people has not place in factories. I think it's the same, and of course people is necessary because we have to interpret that kind of data. We have to think, and technology is a tool for doing the things that don't add value. So to automatize processes and things like that, and I think the value of the person is other. It's just to interpret it, and of course we are going to have work for some years, I think.
All right, Thomas.
I think, at least it's a stupid code when we look at this point. So we have to understand it, because before we use also researching software and things like that. And we never try discussions like that. So of course it will change a lot. But we have to understand how to use it and then when to use it. Of course, we will get more findings, automatism, and then so it will make our life as researcher much easier. And we can focus on other things and then combining things together. And it's already happened now when you look at the studies and the findings the AI does until today. It's amazing and so fast, and we got so much findings, and it's growing from each day. We get more and more findings, so we are already on the way, you know?
Okay, Pavel?
I think that technology is an important part of our life, and also it will be important part of consumer behavior studies. It is we should treat it as tools which could be used and could be useful for us. And I think that we will still need it to interpret data, to understand them. So I hope that we could work for some 10 years, let's say.
Okay, so thank you very much for this optimistic voice. That there will be the space for all of us. But I think that not only with interpreting the data, but also when we start the research, so to define the proper goals. So we need to work with the managers and to really identify what is the problem, and then to convert the business problem into the research problem, and then finally to create the concept of the research, and then in a certain moment, yes, the IT guys will be really, really important for us and very helpful. And of course, what you said, that the interpretation of the data. We need a lot of sociologists, economists, psychologists. I remember that when I used to work for ING Bank, and we have also the visit in Amsterdam, and then they start use the big data, and they give us the examples that they were so afraid about the customer, especially the men who are renting the hotel not far away from their home. So like there was a distance like 50 kilometers from the home, because what was behind? It was not, nobody else can interpret than the people who knows the sociology, psychology, and so on. Because if there was happen like 3 times the amount that you rent the hotel near your home, so it means that probably they interpret that probably you will have a lover. So soon your wife will recognize that you have a lover, then you have a problem in your house, so probably you will be divorced. And we know from the economical point of view that divorced customers usually has the biggest problem to pay back the credits to the bank. So they were able to identify potential problems in really, really advance before even wife was recognized that you have a lover. So we need to have both economists, we need to have sociologists, psychologists, that they will be able to interpret in the proper way the data, we receive it, and then convert into decisions of the companies and the marketing decisions. All right, so I think that it's time to sum up the discussion. So could you just point the most important trends in the research in consumer behavior and marketing? So what do you think, what will be the hot topic or hot area on the research in the next few years?
Good question.
We'll continue this what we're already doing.
Yes, sure. But I think at least the most important thing is to getting validated data. So 100% data, I think we are working for that, and that will be a long way. But this is the future, you know? Make it more predictable, the consumer, understand the consumer, predictable behavior, and so things like that will be more and more important, and of course. And we're learning every day, you know it. We're sitting every day in our rooms and thinking, showing tasks, but at least to understand which data is needed and how we can validate it.
All right, thank you.
In my case, I think the future is to understand very well how our brain works, and how to connect with our customers and what they love. And of course, I think, because I'm from the communication area, we have to keep doing research for understand very well how to communicate with our target and how to connect with them. And because technology is changing, and now it's very difficult to reach our target, and we can use only social media or only TV. We need to understand how to connect with them with narrative transmedia or things like that. And I think that is going to be really important.
Especially if because right now we are talking about the paradigm of relationship marketing or partnership marketing. So how to build long-term and durable relations with the customers by delivering not only the good products and so on, but also with the communication issue. So.
That's a really important point. Sorry for that, but there was also a finding from our study, because when we look at the market, and they love to, because we have the climate crisis and so sustainable products, and what we find also out, and it's also an ethical question. Most of the brands, and they're doing greenwashing, so they are not green. They're using words like recycling, climate crisis, and but it's nothing nicer. So there are gaps, between what the customer wants, already understand. The brands understand the customers, but they can't deliver, or they're lying. But the customers are not stupid. They're well educated and they understand. Mm-hmm.
And I would like to add a very short thing, and that it's because we are now in an environment full of competing companies, and now all the products are almost at the same level of quality. So the differentiation is around other issues and not in the product that was before. So that makes us that we have to pay more attention about how is the consumer and what they want.
All right, thank you. Paweł?
So summing up, I would like to focus on three problems. The first one, integration of methodological integration in the studies. But why? I think that the reality is very complex. The consumer behavior are changing very fast, and we need complex data. We need to have better picture of the reality. Knowledge should be both broad and deep, qualitative and quantitative. The second problem, if I have to choose one research attitude, I would focus on quantitative studies, because from marketing point of view, the most important today is to understand consumer. So the answer to the question why is more important than answering the question how many, how much. If it is possible, of course it is a good idea to join together different attitudes. If not, this understanding is very important from my point of view. And the third thing, the professor they mentioned about research action. And I think that there is a new attitude toward studies, because up to date, in marketing and consumer behavior area, we just collected data and finish on interpreting data. But this action research help us to do something more, to solve problems, to go one step further. And in my opinion, it is also interesting to consider this attitude in the future.
All right, thank you very much. Thomas, you wanted to add something?
I just was thinking, to change something into the better one, you mean. So because I think so. I understand it like that because, you know, we already have, like I said before, the data to understand. Of course, we have to work on it, but we have to deliver it through, you know. If you're talking about green products and recycling, you have to deliver them. So, you know, when you start playing with the customers, you will lose them. So, and this is the gap. So we have also work on it to deliver on the right place and in a through way. So using storytelling and things, let them experience it.
All right, so any questions or comments? Yes, please. Here.
Yes, I have only one more comment. It was a very interesting discussion. And I think also that we, as a researcher, we have to think about the security of our data. Because if we wanted to use the AI in a research area, because the consumers are more and more aware that of the possibilities of the leaking of the data, so they don't want to be part of the research sometimes because they are afraid what this data will be used for. So this is also a very interesting and very important issue that we have to, as a researcher, think about in our future, because I agree that the AI we can use and we will use in the future, or even now still using, to research, and maybe now more to the quantitative methods, not the qualitative one, but even So this is the important thing, that we have to explain to the consumer how we use the data, that they will be secure, that we get really validated issue and hypothesis and conclusions from them, and that they will be secure. So this is also the problem of how we can convince the consumer that they are secure, and then they can safely be part of our research. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
You're
Thank
completely
you very
right.
much. Yeah, this is very, very important. So finally, we should really treat the customer as a partner of our business, because actually, thanks to this, we can really create the really long-term durable relations with them, and then we can be benefits both, because the customer can benefit and also we will benefit. So definitely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They are open, actually, but they have to be sure for sure that they are secure.
Thank you, Sam. Very, very important voice in this discussion. Thank you so much.
It's already happened in areas. So like I said before, when we look at the security area, they're using also your data, yeah? And look at Australia, eye scanners, and then, but you feel comfortable, secure, so you give it, you know? Medical area, the same thing. So we have to find the ways, okay, where to adapt it, and then which way, and where's the limit, where we have to stop.
Should to explain to the consumers the path of our research, that they will be, very clear for them. We don't think about it at the beginning. Then we are maybe surprised a little bit that some of the consumers and some of the respondents don't want to speak with us, to tell their very important data or information. So we have to explain them. This is very important.
Completely.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Yes, please.
I think the problem is not for data. The problem for transfer the data to knowledge. That's problem, because if using AI for this data, we can transfer it to knowledge, and it's very dangerous to have a knowledge of many peoples. That's problem.
Yeah, this is very important issue. All right, so if not, thank you so much for the participation, and also thank you very much for all my colleagues to discuss, to take the panels, also for the questions. And right now we deserve for the coffee, but of course I would like to invite you in a few minutes for the second session, which will discuss the impact of the consumer behavior research and marketing research on the society. So how we can really use this knowledge in the practice in the real world. So thank you very much, and see you soon after the break. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, dear professors. Welcome to the second session of a debate dedicated to consumer and the marketing on the global market, however, from the perspective of Europe, because we are representing the different 4 universities, the European perspective. So Thomas is from the University of Art in Berlin. Maria is representing University of Alicante in Spain. Pavel is representing our sister university, University of Economics in Krakow University of Economics. And of course, we are here at the University of Economics in Katowice. But of course, we have the guests also from the other institutions. So we have the professors John from the St. John's University in New York. So we will have also the American perspective. Also, we have Mohan, who is representing business. And he is able to show us the perspective of in fact, the 2 continents, because in India and also the America, right now he's here. So we are so happy that all of us, all of you, we can host here. And our second sessions will be dedicated mostly to the impact of the consumer behavior research and marketing research on the society. If we have the topic like this, I cannot miss the first question, which is last 2-3 years was one of the most important for us. So how COVID-19 and the pandemic COVID-19 influence on consumer behavior and the marketing activities of the business. Of course, mostly from the European perspective, but generally on from the whole economy, because this was the really unusual situation for all of us, for the customer and for the business. We didn't have the experience. Nobody has in CV that we are able to manage such a pandemic. So if this reaction of the customers was the same, like we could observe after or during any economical or financial crisis, for example, 2007, 2009, the financial crisis that we could experience, or it was totally different behaviors. So I will give the floor to first Thomas. Can you start?
I try to. Thank you. Yeah, you know, I think what is important to be short for us, or my experience, it was when the crisis starts. So most of the local shops was closed, especially in Berlin, and we see a growing online community and also a growing online business. So a lot of them try to understand the customers and to get even more revenue and. So they're starting again with things, investing in things like newsletters. You can't imagine before a newsletter, you know. But now the consultees around the world spending so much money in it to creating newsletters, doing ABC tests, and so it's amazing what happens. So I think this was one of the most changes to understand how it works, to pick them up online at the right time, bring it to you, give them your products, but also the cognitive experience, the affective experience, and then bring them to buy your product. So yeah, just to be short.
Okay, Maria.
It's a really difficult question because I think everything changed in that period. We stay at home, we have different needs, we had money because we stopped going out to have dinner or have lunch. And for example, in Spain, all the small stores at the beginning closed. So all the companies that had an e-commerce grow very fast. And from that point, at least our government start promoting or giving grants for the small sellers to do a website and to allow them to buy. And I don't know if it happens in other countries, but for example, in our case, when the lockdown was removed, the consumer grows very fast, and there were not available a lot of products. So we have a problem with the demand because we have more demand than offers. And And I think COVID, of course, changed us. And if you see at the European plans, for example, Next Generation, I don't know if you know it, that it's the first time that all the European countries agree to invest a huge amount of money. And one part, maybe I think it's about 30%, is directly related with the digitalization, and especially with for small companies to try to grow that kind of digitalization and the marketing digitalization, and to help them to sell. So I think change a lot our behavior, and change a lot as well the ways that the companies were selling products. And I think that are like the main points.
All right, thank you very much. And Pavel?
So please let me present some conclusions from research conducted by me and my colleague, Professor Agnieszka Żbikowska, about consumption in pandemic times. We conducted research using an integrated methodology, and it was based on a survey method. We studied 750 respondents, and after that we conducted 17 deep interviews. We wanted to understand more, to explain some indications and so on. And of course, we analyzed secondary sources of information and what was published about consumer behavior during a pandemic. And we found out that consumer behaviors were changed during pandemics. Some new lifestyles, consumption patterns, different value systems occurred. But I would say that the pandemic didn't create many new consumption patterns. Some trends existed before pandemic, but I would say that the situation reinforce these trends, so strengthened some trends, for example, ecological trends. And considering consumer behavior trends in this pandemic time, we could say that consumer, I would say now, are more price-oriented and useful. More than half people in Europe and also in Poland indicated that they are more price-oriented, more economical. They are looking usefulness, good relationship among price and the quality. Consumers are more digital. Many activities were moved to the internet, and more ecological. For example, in Poland, most Poles, more than 90%, admitted that ecology is important to them, even during a pandemic, because in this time they earned less money, they had not good economical situation, but they try to focus. Of course, there are on it. Of course, there are only declarations, and reality differ from it, but it was a tendency. And I would say that our research, in this research, we didn't notice significant changes in the volume of purchasing goods and services. If less was bought, it was caused by the situation. They bought less shoes, less clothes, and, for example, more cleaning products. But I think that something changed in attitudes. And it was inspired by this situation. And many people said that they were thinking about overconsumption, for example. They was going to buy something just to support seller. And so on and so on. So we identified this kind of attitudes. And maybe one more thing. If we, I would I would like to present a micro point of view. For example, in deep interview, we had 60 years old woman, and she said that this pandemic time changed her, that a lot of changes were in her life and in her customer behavior. She lived in the countryside. First time, it was first time in her life for some months, and he changed her point of view. She spent more time with nature. She resigned from often purchasing behavior, and so on and so on. So she said that she understood that we can use fewer clothes, wear them longer, resign from eating meat every day, and so on. So I think that we could identify this kind of attitudes.
Okay, thank you. Thomas wanted to add something?
Yeah, thanks a lot. And yeah, Maria says something, so Pavel also, so thanks for that. Just an example, you know, because we are talking about things like changing from offline to online, and then the things happened. But it's a point what you say, the completely mindset change, as I experienced, because I also working as a digital director in ergonomic branch. And what we experienced, that the customers are more focused on health, because after the lockdown comes, they have to stay at home. And then they experience, hey, I have a bad chair. Yeah, it's painful for me, this and this and this. So, and they came to us. The older people starts, and then we get, at the last years, students, and then the customers going younger and younger. So they are focused now more on health, science-stable products, because they say, okay, I need a good chair to sit good, just for my health, but also doing something for the climate crisis. So the completely mindset change, yeah? But of course, we have customers with money who can spend the money and buy these chairs. But of course, we have people with low income, they can't. So there's also a gap between. But yeah, of course, the mindset changed a lot. We are more focused, like things you talk about, the overconsumption and then. The people are more focused. They're asking themselves, okay, do I need it? Do my kids that need it, like a PlayStation or what we're talking about, because it's Christmas now, so things like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Maria?
I think it would be very interesting to repeat your study just now, because we think that the situation was going to change us. But for example, I'm going again to the stores to buy shoes, to buy clothes. So it has changed us, but I think not us. We thought that it was going to change us. And I would like to ask you, how do you answer, how do you prepare your questions? Because of course, if you ask me, I want be sustainable, and I want. So there are some questions that are like polite, and everybody are going to answer that yes, no? Do you believe in green? Yes, of course. Do you? So what?
There were a lot of questions, and in this quantitative part, we try to answer how much they are consumed before pandemic and during pandemic time. So if they they buy more or less quantity, how money they spend on different categories of products. And we try to also study attitudes toward problems. Once again, it was compared to previous situation before pandemic time and during pandemic. We try in deep interviews. We try to estimate if those changes will be durable or not. And of course, it is difficult to say. As you mentioned, people come back to old patterns, but we identify 4 segments of customers. We considered 2 variables. The first one is how significant was changes, significant or not, and what is the tendency, increasing or decreasing. And for example, there is the first group, we called those people COVID experienced, and in this group people were physically or emotionally experienced by COVID-19. And in this group, people decided to make dramatic, I would say, behavioral changes, and they are consistently implementing it. But we have other groups. For example, we call them solving in the sand. And in this group, consumers try to change behavior at the beginning of the pandemic. But if circumstances were changed, we are coming back to the normal situation, they resign from those patterns. But there is one more group inspired by change, and there is a very important group from my point of view, because those people change their behavior slowly, but it is related to their attitudes. They change attitudes, way of thinking. For example, this woman never thought before about overconsumption, but in this situation they started to do it. And I think that this behavior could be durable.
May I ask, did you see some or can we get some factors so about the older of them, how old they are, and so it would be nice to get some more input, especially for this group?
There are some, maybe one more thing. We identified that there are statistical dependencies, because people who are better educated, who are the women more often than men, decided to change behavior. So economical factors are very important, and people in crisis, this economy is the most important for them. But if, for example, people who work remotely more often decided to be more ecological than people who just go to work. Yeah?
Okay, if I add something to this discussion, because generally the phenomenon of COVID-19 was mostly associated with the internet. So the best is to ask Dr. Google what the Dr. Google is thinking about this, the COVID. And actually Google was an expert from the Google, identified 4 main trends they could observe how the customer behaviors and also the company's behavior change. And actually, all these 4 trends, they said that they make closer customers to the companies, because even if we're close at home, but there was the only one chance to communicate and so the companies were more aware of the consumer needs. Or maybe not the needs, but the new ways of satisfying those needs. And the customers are really require particular needs. So the first trend is the consumer are driving business to the innovation. I think that one of the best examples is of our very big Polish company, InPost. InPost, which is the company that they are actually delivering the boxes, the gifts to the products not to the home, but to the safe boxes, and then we can take it out. At the very beginning, after the COVID appeared, for 2-3 months, the company observed a very big drop of delivering the products. And of course, one of the reasons was that they were in shock, so they didn't order the products. But another one was very simple. They were just afraid to type anything on the screen, the same like with the ATMs. So immediately, they introduced, in 1-2 weeks, they introduced on the mobile application the possibility to open without touching the screen. And it was really, really good start for it, and right now everybody, all of us, so we are using this. And the idea was just because of the COVID. The second trend, consumer expectation are fluid across the categories. So generally, because especially on the Polish market, we get some experience with online banking, on online insurance. So we were familiar how to do it, but we were not experienced with, for example, online purchasing clothes or other products. So usually customers try to convert the knowledge, the skills they have already on the banking market or insurance market into the tangible goods market and so on, and they start require the same services like they already have at the markets. They have this experience. And then the third one, the consumer has a heightened need to live for the life information. I don't know if you remember, but before the COVID, actually, of course, some of the companies really care about the live information on every single social media and also on the website. But majority of them, not. So there was the information, especially on the website, was very, very old, and actually nobody cares about the correct telephone number, addresses, and so on. Suddenly, everybody require information which is changing even minutes to minutes, not that day by day. So it's very, very quickly updated because you never know. If there is a big problem, so you cannot move to this place, so you can go to this one. So this increase the company's awareness of delivering a live information to the customers. And finally, customers are driving major shift in the demand. So we don't want to say that the demand was declining, but as you said, that it was changing to the different products, like those who give us like more entertainment at home, sports, and so on, then to resign on purchasing another furnitures and so on, which we know that it's not very useful right now, and we have to do it. So I can say that it was not the same changes in the behavior, not like after the crisis 2009, that was really, really big drop in purchasing some products. But here there was mostly the change of the type of the products we purchase. Any questions, any comments you want to add concerning how the COVID-19 influence on consumer behavior, maybe from the different perspective of different markets? Do you have some? Oh, okay. So.
Thank you. Maciej Tuszkiewicz, Department of Business Informatics and International Accounting, University of Economics in Katowice. So my experience is with customers, but on the business side. So the company I work for is mostly contracting and having transactions with other companies. So something really different from what you're talking about, because not customers, just human people, but companies mostly. Something we've noticed is that during the COVID, the first years and the first months, there was a big drop in transactions that didn't have to happen. So the companies were trying to push back from any of the investments that they were doing. But it's not disappearing in the nature. And finally, after a year or two, you can see the big increase in sales and transactions. And overall, when you look into 3 or 4 year period, you'll notice that the amount of transactions remain the same in the volume, in the values, just that they've been moved. So like that's something that I've noticed from the company's perspective, that if you have business-to-business transactions, they will move to 1 to 2 years. And something that Professor Maria was asking is something interesting. It's less with the customers, but you were asking about durability of the changes of the pandemic on the people. And we've been having cathedral research regarding the scientists and even more the teachers. So we've been trying to find out how the teachers will use ICT and generally informatics after the COVID and during the COVID, and how the quality of our teaching has changed. And something which is interesting, based on the activity theory, we've been researching all over the world, but mostly the European scientists and European teachers, is that during the pandemic, everyone notices that it's plain simple that the quality is worse. But based on the activity theory, we've noticed that people were forced to use it, and even though they didn't really want to use it, they had to learn, and since they already learned, they found some good pieces of things that they could use during their teaching. Unfortunately, most of them still may consider that it's more of the source to put information on the platform, but as they were forced to use it for a year, 2 years, maybe in some of the universities, that the changes will be durable, and most of them do say that they will be using ICT much more in the future, which we can notice because even now we are using more classrooms and etc., etc. So there is a chance and possibility that changes are durable, but it's a case of experience, it's a case of gender, and just personal attitude towards information systems. Thank you, that's just my input.
Thank you very much for this very important voice. Any other comments? Or the other perspective? Okay, please. Excuse me.
Hi, so I can offer the perspective. I work for a technology company, and what we offer is cloud infrastructure that powers a lot of like startups and businesses, right? So with COVID, what exactly happened was all businesses had to suddenly pivot and go online. So we saw some very interesting trends, especially cloud. Compared to a lot of the other businesses, we saw huge spikes in usage. And a lot of the businesses, and especially when we analyzed trends, we started seeing, in one sense, consumers' behavior really showing up, right? A lot of people were at home. They were streaming a lot more. They were playing a lot more games. So video streaming, gaming, education, all of those started showing really positive upward trends. So that's, in some way, consumer behavior. But I also what I want to offer here as part of another perspective is just the availability of data and what companies did with that data, right? Like one was consumer behavior, but then though that consumer behavior just providing companies a lot of data that they didn't have access to before, right? For example, there are companies that have offline stores. For example, if you today go and see a shoe that you really like at a store, but then choose to buy it online, companies earlier were struggling with attributing whether this consumer came to us from the offline store, the retail store that we had, or they went first to our shopping site or website and then bought it. But suddenly with You know, retail stores getting shut down, it was all online, so there was just so much access to data. What are consumers buying? What shoes is working? What products are really working? So businesses now had the availability of all of this data, and of course, access to technology like machine learning that uses all of this data to then position those specific products that consumers are really buying. Okay, if these are hot products, then we're just going to sell a lot more of those products to consumers. And that is the cycle, right? Like, that's also affecting consumer behavior, so.
Yes.
I would just like to introduce time horizons into this conversation because I think it's really, really important because we're talking about before, during, and after the pandemic as if we've even gone through that cycle yet, which we have not really gone through that cycle yet, right? There are still people getting COVID. There are still people in the hospital and dying from COVID all over the world, right? We're still trying to understand what COVID-19 will mean for us going forward. You go to an airport and some people are masked, some people are not masked, right? So we're at the end stages perhaps, but we're still actually in the crisis itself. Also, I think that when we do research comparing COVID behavior to pre-COVID behavior, it's dangerous because what we're doing is comparing emergency response behavior to non-emergency response behavior. And I think that we will get a lot more data when we compare how people responded in COVID-19 to how they consume when there is a hurricane on the horizon, when there is a predicted tsunami, when there is an economic crisis, et cetera. Emergency consumption compared to other emergency consumption. Because we would never make business decisions about buying plywood when people spike their purchase of plywood in order to cover their windows because a hurricane is coming, right? We would recognize that that is atypical consumption due to a circumstance. And so I think we had a lot of atypical consumption. I actually don't think we will understand where, like if you think about any graph, if you zoom in on a graph, you can see a lot of variety, but if you zoom out, curves tend to be smoother. And I think because we're so focused in on the real activities that have existed within this time, to draw any big conclusions about human behavior at all right now, specifically consumer behavior in this conversation, is premature. I think we should be studying it, but studying it so that we can interpret it 5 years from now and 10 years from now to get any good insight into what's happening. And I think we, as researchers and as practitioners, can favor immediacy, and that can be problematic. And then just one more comment that I would like to introduce that I think was kind of discussed but not called out is, we talk about consumer behavior during COVID as if the experience of people during COVID was uniform. And we often talk about it in terms of people being at home, when in fact there were large numbers of people who were not at home. There were large numbers of people who were populating grocery stores, the people who were doing all of that delivery work, the people who were working in hospitals, the people that were working in other places. And I think that we've ignored, for two reasons. A, it was really, really hard to collect data about the people who were out being active. And B, it wasn't our interest. It's not as easy, right? We can collect online data for the people who are sitting home with computers, which means we're collecting more data about wealthy people, well-resourced people, and so on and so forth, and then drawing conclusions. So I think there's a lot more work to do and big questions to ask about human experience during COVID, and that there's a lot of gaps in even who we've asked about what their experience was.
Okay. Thank you very much for these two very important voices. Yeah.
I can be more agree with you because I think we need more data. And for example, I live in the countryside. We have a swimming pool, and of course my experience is not the same of the experience that a person that was working in a hospital or was in a house of 60 meters. So we need to do more research, and I think it's not the same if you live in a big city or if you live in a countryside, and even between the different countries. For example, in the case of Spain, the news were all the time speaking about bad things. So all the people was really frightened. And I think that other European countries did it in a different way. So I think we need to analyze deeper and with a bigger, longer time to understand very well what happens. And I don't know if you were going to introduce it, but I think now we are even in a worse situation because from the point of view of the economic, because I don't know, for example, here in Poland, but in Spain, our inflation is now around 10%. We have an energetic crisis. We have many familiar companies that are being by from Germans and French, because some familiar companies are a little bit worried about the situations. And now we have an opportunity to understand how we behave in that kind of difficult situation.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria. Thomas?
Yeah, thanks. I think one of the issues and the problems I see is, first, talking about us as scientists, to change our mindset and integrate new instruments. Because, you know, when I'm talking about collecting data in an end, there are things in the daily business, in the economy, most of you don't understand it, which models we are using in an end. So we have to bring these models we're already using to predict, to understand the behavior, into science. So it's also an education part. And then after that, we can think, okay, which data we need, how to collect it, which data is important to ask the questions. Because, like you say, it's so complex. But I think the main part, when we're talking about the future, it's really working more maybe with the economy. Let's bring the models into science, integrate them, because we make wonderful things. We have wonderful instruments. So let's combine it. Let's work together and understand it as a common task to make the world a better place.
And I think also that we should also add one dimension of this analysis, because we also have to take in consideration cross-cultural differences. For example, with my students, we did the research concerning how the business changed concerning delivering the food to home. So because actually some of the stores were closed and so on, and there were some limitations, and definitely restaurants were closed. And we compare the consumer behavior on the restaurant market in Poland and in Italy. And there was a totally different situation. In Poland, we adopt very quickly the development of the companies which are delivering the food to home was like a booming at that time, and still is very, very popular. And in Italy, no. Because of course there was some growth, but not that much, because Italy, they need to meet together. So they prefer to go to the restaurant to have a takeaway and then bring home and meet with the friends at home. So totally this kind of cultural issue strongly influenced on the behaviors of the customers, but also on the business. There was the same market, the same restaurants and so on, but the business model totally different because of the COVID. So also, in where we have to take this in consideration, this cross-cultural differences on the market. So, any other questions, comments that anybody wants to add? So actually, I would like to a bit continue this this discussion because maybe the question will be a bit different because actually I would like to ask are the customers and companies or the marketing activities are more ethical or less ethical during or post-pandemic times? So do you think that this kind of very strange situation, unusual situation, for us to be more ethical, or they just open the gate for non-ethical, even misbehavior or pathological behavior of the customers and the companies on the market? Thomas?
Yeah, we talk about it, I think, at the beginning. So what we see in the study, it's you know, before we have the brainwashing, now we have the greenwashing. So it's unethical, at least, yeah. You will find companies, they are ethical, correct, like Adidas. It was a surprise to get it now, to understand it, get these findings. But at least, this is the issue, this is the gap. They are unethical. Yeah.
In my case, I have a relation with many companies, and my experience is that our companies put persons first, so they were very ethically. But as I was saying, now the economic situation now is worse, and we have passed one COVID, and now we are with inflation, with the rates of interest very high, and with less money in the account. And I think the situation and the ethics will change during the months that are coming, and because the situation is worse. So in our case, the companies decide to send all the people home to be safe, and later they redefine how to work with a safe, with all the safe measures. But I'm sure that now that economic situation is we are going to see worse products and worse salaries, and the context is going, I think, is going to change.
Paweł?
In my opinion, the big problem with unethical consumer behavior is overconsumption. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, but maybe now I would present the great Polish sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, who said that we are forced to the consumption, and I think that the scene is on the demand side of the market, because as Thomas said, the companies are responsible for this kind of behaviors. Marketers encourage people to buy, to replace product, to consume more, and there are marketing tools which try to encourage people to consume. And I think that there is, we called it with one PhD students, he is working on this kind of research, the ethical gap. There is a declaration of the companies from one side. They say we would like to be social responsible, and from the other side they do a lot to encourage people to overconsume, and there is a problem.
All right, thank you very much. Actually, at our departments, we did research, not really on the ethical, but something which is totally against, so about the consumer misbehavior on the market. And even we call it in Polish language the consumer pathological behaviors. And we have a chance to do the grant financed by the minister in 2015-2016. And then we also partly repeat this research during the COVID. And generally, the general conclusion is that because actually we have a different type of misbehaviors or pathological behaviors on the traditional market when we are visiting stores, and then when we are behaving on the online market. So in traditional stores, usually the number of the thieves in the shops was increasing. Around 5%. So it was really, really surprised, especially if we are talking about the food. But also what was observed, which was not observed before that strongly, also the consumption of expensive food products inside the store. So they consume and they left like without paying the store. There is also the situation that after the COVID, people back to the store, there is more situation that they create a mess inside the store, especially with the clothes or equipment, high-tech equipment, and they leave it. Well, actually, even they observe that the customer are more aggressive when they communicate with the store staff. So they behave unpleasant toward the store employees. Also, when we are talking about the banks or the insurance company, the number of the false documents delivering to the institutions is increasing, or even false ID card was introduced just to get the credit, just to get the credit card, and so on. So this was really also observed. And of course, there was like the concealing information about the previous treatment, which is also was increasing. In comparisons to this, when we are talking about the online market, definitely there was the number of the excessive customer claim was increasing. Also the aggression. So this is similar from this. So we are becoming more unpleasant to the. So we are more rude, even vulgar, and especially the online environment. Gives us this kind of that we believe that maybe we are independent, or the screen is like the safe for us. So that's why we can be more aggressive and do not adapt to the rules that the store is introducing. So many times we click that we accept all the regulations, and then we are complaining for the company. And of course, the spiral of buying at the auctions carried out by the customer in emotions. So this was there was one of the biggest problems with the. So actually we can say that because of the increasing of the pathological behaviors, so the number of the ethical issues is less. However, the research shows us very important indicators of being ethical or behaving in a wrong way. So generally, we're able to identify the few factors that force us to misbehave. First of all, the previous experience. Those who experience in the family or they have around them the people who misbehave. So for them, it's much easy to accept misbehaviors and also to introduce the behaviors by themselves. Then also another issue is the moral obligations. So if there is like a mechanism of the control. So if the moral obligations are on the high level, so we are more ethical. Want to be more ethical. Also the issue of the perceived social control. So if we know that the society is not accepting this behavior, so we are more trying to behave in an ethical way. Like, well, we have the students here. So generally we know that the students are cheating at the exam, right? And it's not perceived as something negative or misbehavior. It's even perceived as a challenge that I can do it, or even more, that you are more entrepreneurial. entrepreneur, right? So everything how we perceived such a situation, and of course the subjective norms and the attitudes of the customers on the market. And another issue what we also find out that because, for example, when we took in consideration the 10 models of the customers introduced by Schwartz according to the values we represent, so we were able to identify the three type of the customers which are more hedonic, those who are oriented on the power, and those who are oriented on the achievement. So these three, if such a values is dominate in your behaviors, such a values are represented by you, so you have high probability that you misbehave often on the market than the customer who are more focused on integrity, on the human values, and so on. So generally, this kind of issue, when we will be investigate this kind of problems or challenges, we have to take this also into considerations. Do you have some other comments concerning the ethical behaviors or less ethical behaviors of the companies or consumers on the market, not only because of the COVID, but also because of the financial crisis we observe right now? Any comments?
Maybe I will start to give some courage to the others. Edyta Lachowicz-Santos, University of Economics in Katowice. I wanted maybe to touch upon this ethical, unethical, but in the context also of what we were talking about yesterday. Smart cities, social inclusion, technological inclusion. Do you think that there is a role on the side of scientists, on the side of the university, that is going to be new in the future? I mean, the issues that became more important, no matter where you look at the globe, the pandemic, the war, the economic crisis that is happening now, the climate change that is affecting everyone, is kind of changing priorities. What, having those priorities, especially for young generation in mind, what role do you think scientists have in this? Especially if we talk about Cairo, the colleague is not here, it came to my head, okay, you are building a smart city. You were talking about the exclusion. How many people will be excluded from everyday activities, communication tools, purchasing tools? Is there any role that you see for scientists, for university, for researchers in this bigger picture than publishing papers?
Thank you for the amazing questions. So I try to answer because, you know, it's a question, but you had 100 other questions inside, so it's hard to answer. But just coming back to yesterday, he was talking about Cairo and Anthem. But let's look like the master city near Dubai, Abu Dhabi, so which is ecological. They adapt scientists inside. So it's an amazing city what's happened there. The scientists also living there. They're researching there. It is a completely new mindset what happens. You have electric cars. Everything is connected and so they educate, they invite people, students around the world. You also, as a tourist, you can visit the master city. And then they will educate you, show you the city and. So I think, of course, we scientists, it's our task to educate the people and. But also to do this experience by our own, not just talking, you know. When I never visit the city, so it's hard to explain it, hard to teach you. But we have to experience it in practice and using the things. And then, yeah, it's the same, education. Yeah.
Also, when we did this research concerning the consumer misbehavior, we combine also not only the research among the customers, but also among the companies, especially front office personnel. And then we recognize that, in fact, even the big international companies, they don't have the very well-developed policy how to handle with misbehaving customers. Usually, those front office personnel, they create some kind of the strategy by themselves. So the same company, but everybody deal with the misbehaving customer in totally different way. So actually, basing on this, we were able to introduce the whole program, what these companies that we interview should do, and how they should train, and what kind of policy they should have concerning how to manage these misbehaving customers and, in fact, converting them into the more ethical customers on it. So, again, the training, educating the customer and also the companies. Yeah, because we can help them a lot with in that case. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to give one example of overconsumption and unethical behavior in the cross-country studies. I don't know if you had a chance to see any TV when you were here in Poland, but one thing that would strike you are the amount of commercials of medical supplements. This is huge in Poland, and this is really exceptional. It's unbelievable how many unnecessary products pharmacies sell in Poland.
Okay, any other comments? Or we can slowly move to the actually the second very important topic for us, which is the consumer of the future and different segments that we will experience in 2, 5, or 10 years, and who will be the target. So. What will be the new trends in consumer behavior on companies, the marketing of the company's activities in the future? Basing on your experience, on your research, what will be the future?
In my case, I can speak from the business point of view, not from the research. And I think the specialization is going to be really important because we have companies from everywhere that can sell in all the world, and we need very specialized companies that cover just one need, or at least a family of products. So I think before we had companies that did everything, and I think that you have to do just what you know how to do.
Okay, thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you. I will look at my research words. So my thing is to build a wonderful experience. So from this point of view, we will get the chance. We will get the chance. So it's depending from us if we adopt it or not, and where we adopt it, to building perfectly experience through the data we got from the people in an end, and the findings on the one side. And then the technology part we already also do. So we try to imagine how the future will work, how we will buy in the future, how the shops of the future are like. So we start also doing things like and develop things like the smartphone, O-phone. Maybe you heard about it. We does it in Malaysia and Singapore in projects. So we already can send taste through your iPhone. Smell through your iPhone, and things like that. We are able to do this. So, and I think it will be the future, also for B2B, but also for B2C, because maybe you can stay at home. You just imagine stay at home and you will buy some product, but you're insecure because you can't decide. Normally, we need a good affect, a good gut feeling, and the brain says, yes, it's a good decision, but you can't. So you have the possibility to try it before buy it, And we are working on things like that. So you can taste it from your home, and you say, okay, it tastes great, I will buy it. Flowers, yeah, it smells like, or perfumes. It smells good. Oh, my wife, my man will love it. I will buy it as a gift. So things like that, and we're playing with things, and so we're thinking a lot about multisensory technologies, and try to combine it. And the idea behind that the whole work is to understand the customer as a hashtag. Don't misunderstand me, please. But through this hashtag, we are able to deliver the right experience on the right place.
Thank you. Pavel?
It is really difficult to answer this question. I could say that future consumer will be different, but it is difficult to say how will be the features, characteristics of the customer. And there is example with our studies on COVID. As you mentioned, it is difficult to say how COVID-19 influenced consumer behavior, how other circumstances, other factors. I think that we still should try to study and to build knowledge. There is not a complex knowledge, but it is better than don't have any knowledge. But it will be difficult to evaluate it because, for example, as you mentioned, we should study people and once again to make know about changes of behavior. But there will be next changes influencing customers, for example, war on Ukraine, the economic problem with our economy in Poland, and so on. So those changes will be caused by different factors, as I said.
So one question to you. Okay. One question to you, please. So should we develop completely new models? Because as I understand it, we have, as a scientist, and integrate much more factors because it's much more complex. Develop new models, new theories, and because we need it. You know, we have to integrate fields like Joanna was talking about it, and an end. So it's a huge task, and it's of course interdisciplinary.
Our studies should be permanent. So I think that there is a way how to solve this situation because everything is changing very fast. Yes, we try to do it, but we should also remember that models are built on previous studies. So there is a problem of scientific research that we are one step later than reality. So we could describe it, but it is difficult to forecast future.
And most because a lot of the research is based almost always in the past, and it's difficult to identify the trends. So it's like sometimes like research is in the past, and business are in the future, and I think we have to work with what kind of methodologies we can work on it.
Yeah, and I think that, well, because actually the problem is more deeper. So because from one side we are talking about the very attractive segments of the customers for the business, and we should focus, like for example, we can talk about the baby boomers, so those who are just finishing their careers. They have very good income, the income is very high, they are very active, they are very interesting to, especially in different kind of the services, tourism and so on. And actually soon they will be, as we call it, active seniors, with a stable income, but they want to be excluded from the market. Like, for example, when I observe my grandmother or grandparents, they were, after they worked, they were almost excluded. Right now, they want to be permanent contact with the different markets. They want to educate, they want to experience, and they want to really have the hedonism of the third age. Even we are talking about the silver economy. So definitely this kind of segment will be growing, and a lot of companies can find the benefits from this segment. Also, we can say that the one of the interesting segment will be permanent singles, or sometimes we call it smart kids. Well, because mostly when we are talking about the traditional families and so with the kids, and we have very good, very big group of the singles when they can only focus on themselves, they spend money on satisfying those needs. So, and they also require different products and different approach on the market. Then also the green customers, when we are talking about the sustainable development. So even right now we are talking about the lifestyle on sustainability and ecology. So it's not only that I buy and consume ecological product, but also concerning how I live, if I go to the gym, if I have really healthy life. All the services around it, they require complex offer to this customers. Also the customers who design luxury, and I'm not talking about the rich customers, but like the middle class, which are at least from the luxury brands, they wanted to have even the small products, but just to show that at least that the status on the market. But when we are going also to the global sphere, definitely we can say that the Chinese dreamers, so really developing middle class in China, which are it's a huge because of the milliards of the people living there, so there will be huge potential market, and the research showing that they are not looking for the Chinese products, they are looking for the Western Europe or US products, so they want to have something different, which also show the status. Also, we are talking about the developing South, so this is Africa tries to develop, Asia becoming new center of design, South America developing and very heavy natural growth. So this is also the emerging but very, very important markets. Or as we are talking about the Hindu entrepreneurs, so very well educated, very entrepreneurial, very high-tech oriented. So again, very, very interesting segments of the market. And on the other side, a part of the segments, we can talk about the new trends in consumer behavior. Like we are talking about the globalization, especially Generation Z, which will be more and more global. But at the same time, we observed the more ethnocentric attitudes, especially in Europe, and even European Commissions want to introduce like European ethnocentrism. The concept is very idealistic because we don't have really like the European product. We have the national product, so which will be quite difficult, but at the same time, creolization of the consumption, which is really, really heavy phenomenon. Then we have homogenization of the consumption, when we can trying to eliminate the border between the gender, between the age, between the social classes, but at the same time, heterogenization consumption, because the offer is such a wide. Also, we can talk about because when we are talking about the virtualization of the consumption, but at the same time, there is a quite big market related to the digital abstinence. And we can observe, even in Poland, there is a lot of companies that are offering the services. Even the hotels are offering this vacations without any telephone, internet, and the TV. So just really to contemplate and to get a rest from all the information that coming through the social media and the internet. Also, I think that the concept of the prosumption will be bigger and bigger as thanks to the internet, we are more used to create the products by ourselves. And I think that also especially among the younger generation, this ethical aspect of the consumer behavior will be more and more important. Any question, any comments based on that? About the segments and some new trends that we can observe on the market. Yes, please. Who has the microphone?
I'll just introduce into the conversation co-creation. I think co-creation and co-created services experience and even products is definitely something that exists, but I think the future consumer, if you think even the language we use of the consumer being the consumer, which presumes that the producer is the producer, and I actually think that's an old model, and I don't think it will hold through the 21st century of there being producers and consumers. And we already know that in practice, but still it's so seeped into us in terms of the metaphor of what the marketplace looks like. And I think eventually, even someone said, we won't know who our targets are. And if you think about that metaphor, right, that the consumer is a target, like someone we're hitting at, right? We're shooting at them, right, and trying to hit them. That made a lot of sense when we were in a producer-consumer model. But I think that effectively that is going to switch. And I think that the traditional producers are actually the targets. And I think that the people who are shooting are going to be the traditional consumers. And that will change substantially the way that businesses need to view their role. And it's a subservient role to the consumer, which is a huge flip compared to what was a hierarchical role where the producer was running the marketplace and the consumer was adapting to what the producer bought and brought into it. And I think we'll see that flip. And I think research is as a result to the question of do we need new models and so on and so forth. I think it's going to blow up the models that we have. I think it's going to blow up what you were talking about, the difference between interpretivism and positivism, and also and I don't want to go on and on, but I think it also requires us to think about how we view a successful academic. Because as of right now, it's publishing multiple papers in high-quality A journals, international journals, and if 98% of the papers or 90% of the papers need to be positivist, and yet we're saying that we need to do different kinds of research, you're not going to get a lot of academics who are going to make choices to do this new kind of research if it is going to be an uphill battle to get published. And so you have academics who are going to have to leave the academy in order to do the kind of rigorous research that needs to be done, which means there is this other place that research is going to need to be done. So there's huge systemic changes that are going to need to happen that I think will take much longer than we think. We think that this is all going to move quickly, but people do operate in some ways in their self-interest. So it'll be interesting to see.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for that. So completely true. We don't have to see them as a target. That's, you know, we have to work on it to understand on the one side the customers with the right data, but also win trust, yeah, and to build up a relationship that they give us the data and we deliver the right experience at the right place. So I think it will be in the future an important thing. And of course it's hard, also for me, like you say, because, you know, we publish things and then have ideas about future markets, theories, models. We try to also experience by myself, to publish it in journals, international journals. And they withdraw it. And I ask them, okay, because why? Because it's not scientific enough. I say, what does it mean? And they say me, this is science fiction what we are writing about. I say, hey, come on, it's a high quality scientific paper. So you know, it was a subject. It's amazing what happens. So yeah, we have to change our minds, get more open and rethink also science, being an academic, and what does it mean, and how will the future looks like. So yeah, interesting points.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question or comments? So if not, I would like to make some short summary, maybe not the summary, but actually I would like to just put some thesis on the table that we can think about it, about the new customer or future customers. And we believe that the future customer will be more multicultural customer because it's functioning in this multicultural environment, and the internet is creating such an environment. There will be the customer who will be more aware of the rights on the market. So the more and more educated customers, and not that they are only aware, but they will know how to get these benefits from the rights they have. So they will be fighting somehow with the companies. Generally, customer will be very critical against this, what we are as a company we are introducing to the market, but also what the policy of the local authorities of the state. Definitely the customer would represent high mobility, and I'm talking about the mobility in the space and also in the social life. So you can grow very quickly, but also it will be the possibility that you will fall down. There will be more focus on relations between the human and nature. So definitely the sustainable consumption will be more and more important for us. We will, because sometimes people said that we are avoiding the social relations. Not really. We need the social relations, but with a different characters than the traditional one. When we satisfied the social relations in the families before, right now, for example, when we have the elderly people, they really require the social relations, but they going, for example, at the university of the third age, and they meet the people with the same problem, with the same values, and then they can satisfy. Definitely desire of the internal growth. So we are not anymore we want to be the part of the society, but we really want to focus on our internal development. The changing of the phenomenon of the having instead of, we don't want to have, we want to use. So the concept of the sharing economy. Why I need to experience, I want to use it, then to have it. Of course, if I have it, it's fine, nice, but also I need to take care for it. So that's why the sharing economy is developing so quickly. Increasing the role of the free time. So we are aware that we want to reduce the number of the hours and get, of course, it's the consequences is also the decreasing our salary, but we have the benefits of the free time that we want to consume in our way. Definitely we are looking for the strong experience, especially younger generation. We are even talking about the experiential marketing and so on, that we want to always experience, we want to feel some emotions, everything what is exotic, what is unique is attractive. Otherwise the young generation, they get bored very, very quickly and they want to switch to another brand, to another job. And the most important value for us will be yachts, health, good looking, and good body conditions. And in fact, at the end of the conference, I would like to wish to all of you, be always young, be always healthy, be always very good looking, and of course, you have very good body conditions. So thank you very much, first of all, to my fantastic colleagues for your very big input and sharing with us your knowledge, your experience, results of your research, and also for the opening some new windows that we need to discover and we need to work on it. Also, thank you very much for the fantastic audience, all the professors, all the students. Thank you so much, and I hope that this two sessions were inspiring for you. And of course, we didn't solve the problem, but definitely we are aware about this problem, and it will be a challenge for all of us. Thank you so much. And right now, I would like to invite you for the second editions of the Economy Without Borders, which will take place next month, and we invite the professors and the researchers from North America and from the Asia. But of course, remember about the events tomorrow, because we will have a fantastic presentation, motivation speeches of our great guests that they will share you about their research, but from the totally different perspective, from totally different point of view, and hope that will really inspire for you challenge in your life. So thank you very much. Thank you.